it doesn't do anything. Let me check if it does. No, it doesn't. Okay. Okay, rid of that. Yeah. And then what we'll do is I'm going to close this down. And there we go. All right. Let me see if I can remember how to do this. So, the first thing I want to say is hello. Obviously, I have not been on lately. And things have been kind of weird. But I've been also extremely busy. So, I try to upload when I can. I just haven't really had enough chances lately. So I figured I would start streaming. So here's the deal. On Planet Minecraft, I made this texture pack. I used the programs on my computer and I made it and I uploaded it to Planet Minecraft 6 years ago, and I think almost 7 years ago, honestly. But people really like it. I mean, people have been downloading it and stuff. And I thought that I would end the life cycle of it in August. Now, the only reason why I would think about doing that would be to basically, essentially, make room for more projects that I have in mind. But then, about a week after I posted that tweet on Twitter, I realized that I really don't want to do that. Not yet, at least. I figured that if I'm gonna go out with that, I'm gonna make sure it's the best experience for people. So keep in mind that I've been having a lot of issues with this pack lately, and that's why it's been so hard to get back into it. But I do have a love for it in my heart, so I just can't end it. So I'm rescinding what I said a few months ago. And there won't be an end date for this. But I am back to working on it almost full time. So I did some texturing things. There's a couple things that I fixed. So there's like 3 things I think that I fixed. This I haven't fixed yet. That needs to be fixed. But I did fix I fixed the diorite walls. I actually fixed all the walls because they were doing that pink and black thing, and so I fixed that. And then I also fixed the thing that so when you get into the pack, and the recent update. Oops. The recent update uh, that came out hasn't addressed this yet. I have not updated it yet since that recent update. But it made the pack unplayable. So when people would download the pack and would try to load into a world with it or something, the pack wouldn't load properly, which would cause it to do that double loading thing, and it wouldn't, it would say resource pack reload failed or something like that. And so I fixed that. I got rid of the shader aspect to it because for some reason it was the shader file, like the shader folder, that was causing the issue. So I deleted that. And so everything should be okay. But if it gives you that error message, then that means that you have to delete the shader file. And I'm going to put that into the new readme that comes in. So when you update this pack, when you get the new version of the pack, make sure to read the readme file because it'll have all of the additional changes / bug fixes that the changelog may not have. So it also have some information there that's important. Let's just hop in. I've done a lot. So you'll notice that I updated the grass texture. And the grass texture, I don't know. I'm still kind of debating on whether or not I like it. I think it's kind of interesting looking, but I don't know. It looks better when when it's on its side and stuff, and you can see it. There's a couple things I gotta clean up with it, but I don't think it's that bad. Um, but it took me forever to do this. I just figured that the other one was a little too bright. Now this one's a little too, like, it needs a little bit less square-like feeling to it, is what it needs. I also finally updated the oak log for the first time. And when you see this in a village, you're going to love it because the oak plank texture that I chose is really great. I did not update this part yet, but I plan on updating that at some point. These are what the oak planks look like, and they need some more work. When you see them in a build, you're gonna love it. It's a total vibe. I updated the cobblestone as well. Let me check the chat real fast. Okay. But I updated the chat, so not chat, but the cobblestone, and I think I like it a lot better. Once you see it in the context that I saw in, you'll realize that that's so much better than what it was. And then what else did I do? Oh, I updated the nether blocks. So that's another thing that I did. This is the gravel texture. So there's a gravel texture right there. And then, of course, there's diorite. And I'm going for like a darker kind of color, If you go through the nether portal, oops, I gotta go this way. Oops. Shit. Why aren't you gonna take me? There we go. It's kind of hard to see. I'm not sure if you can see that, but this is the the actual nether rack. So I think it's a really good block. This live stream will also touch on some other things I'm working on as well. So it won't just be showcasing the pack. But let's take a look at it in a build form. So we have all of this over here. You may recognize this world if you've downloaded the banquet world. This is it. This is the banquet world. I can actually show you guys in real time the banquet. I also made some changes with that too. So, but there's the updated cobblestone. I really, really like the cobblestone. It gives me like a medieval vibe. I really, really like it. Now, these are the stone bricks. Now, the stone bricks, I'm not a big fan of. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not really liking them. I think they're a little too sharp, But this gravel texture, I want to talk about it for a second because I know it looks like deep slate or whatever, but this looks like gravel to me. It's very good looking. I really enjoy the way it looks a lot. So, yeah. Okay, let's load up into a different world. I know it feels like I'm kind of speedrunning it. I'm not trying to speedrun it, but I do want to show you a lot of stuff, and I have a lot of stuff I got to talk about as well. So later on. Now, one of the things that you'll notice here is that this biome is hard coded. It's one of the hard coded biomes. So it's not going to have the stuff. I haven't even done anything with that. So, but I think I can fix that somehow by I have to copy the textures that I've already done, and I hope it's not bad. I hope I haven't dropped any frames. Have I? Nope. No frames have dropped. This was meant for live streaming. This computer was. So, but the thing I got to do to fix it, I think, is I have to um, copy the textures that I've already done and put them in a separate folder, and then get the new assets folder from the new version of the game and put it into the what is it called? Oh, put it into my resource pack, and then paste over the textures that I've already done. So basically, copy and paste it. So then it has all the new textures and all the new block states and stuff, and um, this is the door, the oak door, and but this is what I mean by look at how good that looks. The door looks kind of weird, but that's one of the things that I'm working on. One of the goals of this pack was that originally it was supposed to only affect the foliage. That was the goal. But I think recently I found a new goal that I think I'm reaching, which is you should be able to play this game with all the textures, instead of just the foliage, do all the textures, but it should still be playable. It should still resemble the same game. It's just, it's I want it to be more vanilla friendly, to where your builds won't change too much, so it won't make your builds look ugly. It won't make you regret your decision of getting the pack. No, in fact, I think you'll actually love the fact that you have this pack. I'm working on this wool texture right here. Now, I will say, I want to give some props and some credit. I'm gonna see if I can remind myself. Probably should have done this beforehand. Uh, to put the links to the things that I used into the description box. To give proper credit to the programs and stuff and the creators of the programs that I've used. Um, I've used a mix of everything. I used Krita, and Krita has been amazing to use. That was actually, of the goats, recommended Krita, and I have to say I've been using it a lot, and it's free, and I believe it's also open source if I'm not mistaken. But right now the link isn't down there yet because it's live. But I will try to make sure to put the links down there so you guys can go check it out if you're interested in checking out Krita. There's a lot of different brush assets you can use and stuff, and it's really cool. I also have used paint.net for a lot of the cleaning up of certain things. So like if I needed something to be transparent, or if I needed something to be a different color or something, I could change the hue and saturation a lot easier with paint.net. I did not use Photoshop. Uh, did I use Affinity Designer? I'm going to promote Affinity anyways because it's great, but I did not use Affinity in this pack. So now these textures aren't final, but I've done a lot of them. I think the ones that I really focused on recently was I focused on the oak blocks. Then I also focus on this white wool, and that over there is diorite, and I feel like it looks better. You know, diorite looks so much more natural looking now. And then this is the stone, and down there is the coal, the ore, the coal ore, and um, it's still very much a work in progress. But that's why, like, I realized as I was making these textures, I also did the grass block. That I miss it. I miss doing texture packs, and I know that there is a project that I am working on. There's actually quite a few projects I'm working on, and I'm just doing it bit by bit. So you might not see them for a while. But I guess I could tell you a little bit about uh, the things I'm currently working on. So let's start with Minecraft related stuff. So obviously, I'm finishing this pack. Of course, I love this right here. The little um, gradient. That was an unintentional succeed. Um, as far as when the pack will be fully released, where there's like no more updates besides just um, you know updates for the pack format. I don't know. I don't have a release date. I don't even have a release date for this update. All I know is that when you guys finally are able to download um, the pack, uh, it'll be a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? It'll be a lot more fleshed out. You know, the menus will be reworked as well, and yeah. And I didn't want it to hurt people's eyes too. Like I really didn't. Oh, I also worked on the birch. If I can find a birch forest. I know I'm saying a lot. But um, yeah. So, but there is something that I have been working on, and I stopped working on it for a while, but I think I'm gonna go back to working on it. It's something to do with modding. I don't know if I've talked about this on my channel yet, and I mean it's been about a year, but what I've been wanting to do is I wanted to create a mod, and I like the idea um, of a capybara orc, right? Where it's like like there's a capybara and an orc that are mixed together, and they've created their own species in a way. And some of them are really smart and really like intelligent and stuff and have like buildings, and then others aren't as smart or as intelligent, and but they like to learn from the player. So the ones that are intelligent aren't going to be harmful or anything, but I think they'd be more like neutral, so it's like a more neutral thing. And they are blue, but I think they can also be different colors as well. So there's a little bit of variety and stuff. This is the new, oops, the new birch texture. I love it. Um, but yeah, so there was so yeah, so I I like the idea of it kind of imprinting on the player, like, hey, I like you, So basically, it's like the creaking. And keep in mind, I just want to say right off the bat, I had these ideas well before the creaking came out and well before the new Happy Gas was announced. So it just seems kind of easier now to, there's going to be more mechanics to work with that they're going to be adding with these things, and they've already added them. Um, but just like the creaking, it'll be kind of wherever really. It doesn't really matter the biome. I would like to create their own biome as well, but um, they will have like their own little villages, and their villagers and look like their villages act a little differently. Um, and I don't exactly. I'm still trying to figure out how they're gonna act differently, but it's not gonna be like how you'd see a village nowadays, you know. Um, and I don't know how common or how rare they're gonna be, but sometimes they don't even have villages, and they are in the. They're just basically in a what's it called? They're in a forest, and the forest, uh, like, so for instance, take for an example, okay, you see that forest over there. Well, that's not really a forest. There's got to be a forest. It's got to be kind of thick, you know. It's like that forest right there. Okay. So say if you were just, mind your own business, da da da, doo dee 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 da, and you look over and you see a pair of eyes. You think, oh, it's probably creaking. No, it's a pair of eyes that if you stand still for long enough, it's going to come up to you and it's going to sniff you and it's going to, it's, and these are pretty big, and it's going to learn about you. It's going to be learning about your armor. It's going to learn about your sword. It's going to learn about anything you have in your hand. It's going to learn about. And it'll, you can show it certain things and it'll learn how to craft um, and basically it'll become your companion, you know. But the big reason on why you want to add those in, well, why you want to get those as companions, is because they have a bigger storage on them. So like they're like donkeys. Oh, I also did the sand. They're like donkeys but bigger. They'll have bigger storage. If you can think about it, there's a game on Steam that's called, like, I think it's like The Wandering Traveler or something like that is what it's called. And it's where you create a city on top of this like it's like this huge creature, and I really like that idea. So there's these old fashioned capybaras that we're going to be adding in as well. Oh, I'm going to be adding in as well. I don't know why I keep saying we. There's this old capybara. It's the oh god, I can't remember the name of it, but it's prehistoric capybara. And now there will be normal capybaras as well, and there will be normal orcs, but the capybara orcs are, you know, very impressive. And in order for a capybara to become an orc, they have to get struck by lightning, kind of like how um, a a villager, if it gets struck by lightning, I'm thinking that's how it is. It's like if the villager gets struck by lightning, it turns into a witch or something like that. I think it's still like that. I really should have researched before I did this. But I haven't worked on it in a while though. As far as the mod goes, there's a lot of mechanics that I have to try to figure out how to create myself in order to do certain things like that, and that can be kind of challenging when it comes to coding. But I do want to pick it back up and stuff, and um, hopefully I can, do that and have a really great time with it, and hopefully people can actually see it and stuff, and you'll be able to help it create its own village and stuff and its own um, it's just there's going to be a lot of helpful things, and that prehistoric capybara can handle a lot of items. It's two double chests full that you can have, and so it's there's a double chest on one side and then a double chest on the other side. Now, if you are on the prehistoric capybara, it will it'll display all of the chest inventory. But if you are not on it, you can choose whether you want to open the right chest or the left chest, and they're both separate storage systems. And so that's where I kind of get a little bit like, I don't know if this is even possible, There would be new wood types like the ponderosa pine tree that and call me a tree hugger all you want, but you can't destroy the tree. In order to get the wood, you have to go and find one of these capybara orcs and one of their villagers, and they will have it in their inventory. Like they'll have it to where you can trade with them, and there'll be a certain way on how you could trade. Now, there's certain levels of. I think that's also kind of how it is with villagers. You might see a village that is more like high end, right? Like that's got all the bells and whistles. It's got everything it needs. It is very high end and very different, and it'd be made out of like really strong materials and stuff. Those are the more advanced capybara orcs. Um, and the other ones are the less advanced. So there's like advancements that they make. And you want to find one that's high end because those are going to give you the best deals. However, uh, it will cost you more with the currency is what I'm saying. So there's it's almost like how villagers have emeralds as a currency. There's going to be a different type of currency that you'll have that is somewhat easy to obtain, but not as easy as copper, and not as easy as iron. So, and it won't be something like I haven't decided if it's something that's going to be underground or if it's going to be above ground. But if it's underground, I feel like it's easier. Um, Now, the lower end uh, village, uh, sorry, the lower end Cabra orcs, they will take really anything you have. So they're dirt cheap. So like they're poor pretty much, and they're a step above not even having a village. So they will take anything that you have pretty much as far as they'll deem dirt blocks as valuable. They'll deem um, really anything as valuable, like coal or stone or cobblestone. So those you'll have better trades as far as currency goes, but better you won't have better what's it called? It, it'll be crappier items you can get. So, but the more advanced, the better the items. They're also more expensive. And then you got the middle ones. That they're in the middle. They're like a medium. Those ones are they are a lot more reasonable. You get, like they'll probably ask for diamonds or something, or they'll probably ask for gold or whatever. They will never ask for netherite because netherite is way too expensive. And I want people to be able to explore, you know, and like these Kevra orcs, like they have an issue. They're being endangered. They're becoming endangered, and there's not a whole lot of orcs because of it. And capybaras are succeeding somehow, but they're a lot smaller than how they used to be. So, but they're still pretty large. But this mod is gonna add a lot of fun stuff, and I can't wait for you guys to check it out. I hope it actually gets able to be released. On top of that, I also have another thing that's coming, and that is the Ponderosa project that I got going on. Project Ponderosa. It will be a video game made and I'm going to put these in the description as well. Um, I'm going to be using Unreal Engine Blender, of course, the previous software edit, not software, but photo editing apps that I mentioned earlier, like Krita and Paint.net, and also I'm using this one called Gaia. It's where you can make procedural landscapes and stuff. So now this game isn't for everybody. I'm gonna be honest, but it's a game that, like, let me just give you some backstory, okay? There's this saying that people say where it's like, only tell a story that you absolutely want to tell, that you are confident in telling. Don't be telling a story that you're not confident in, and that's how it is with TV shows and stuff. Is like you want to tell a story that speaks to you. That's like, yeah, I have to do this. I have to, because this is what I need to do. You feel like you're obligated to um, make that decision, and that's absolutely true. And with this game, again, it's not for everybody, but I would hope that people would at least try to check it out when it releases. Now, the working title is Ponderosa Rosary, and it is a Catholic game, and it's about this priest who is he gets he's doing really good at his parish, but the bishop um, decides to transfer him to a different parish, and the parish that he gets transferred to is having a lot of issues, and there's a lot of scandals and stuff, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done to help repair that community. And so it's still a work in progress for sure. I haven't even done a whole lot, um, but I hope that you guys will be able to check it out. And um, there's there's a lot in there for everybody. It's a game for everybody, but it's also not really for everybody at the same time. I feel like it will only speak to a certain amount of people, and that's why it's still a work in progress. Um, I just feel like this was my story to tell. It's a story that people can relate to. And I'm not trying to convert anybody over to Catholicism. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I will be honest with you and say that as a Catholic myself, I feel like I can't mention that I'm a Catholic. I can't mention that to people, or else I feel like I'm going to get judged for mentioning it. And Catholics, we've been through a lot. Not every Catholic is bad. You know, in every community, there are bad people who try to make it a toxic environment for people. Yes, there are bad experiences, and yes, I have a lot of friends who are atheists and stuff, and I know that that may not mean a lot to a lot of people, but um, I feel very obligated to tell this story because I feel like it's a story that people can learn from. They can learn that there are good Catholics out there, and that a lot of the bad stuff you hear is, yes, it's bad for sure, and I don't condone it at all. But at the same time, it's not the full story. It's really not. And so I feel like people get half the story, and then they don't get the other half of the story. And so they just assume that all Catholics are like that. And it's like, that's not really true, and it's a, I don't even know what to compare it to, because you really can't compare it to anything. But I just felt obligated to tell this story, and I felt like it was my calling to tell a story, because I always want to tell a story like that to some degree. And there was one story that I was going to tell in, as like a TV show and stuff. Um, but it was too personal. You know, it was too personal, and it was uh, there'd be a lot of like trademarking issues and copyright issues and just issues that I didn't want to deal with. You know, so it felt like that was, you know, God's way of saying, okay, you want to tell a story for sure. This isn't the story you need to tell right now, but there is a story that you do need to tell, you know? And I think that that was a great way of really, you know, thinking about it because I was really thinking like that's the way. That's got to be the way. I really love how this mountain looks, by the way. But I'm really hoping that, you know, people, whoever gets this game, I'm hoping that they at least, you know, enjoy it for what it is. And it's gonna be really fun. I'm gonna put a lot of effort into it to make sure that it's, you know, really good and that the story is really there and that the game mechanics are there. Um, but to just, you know, kind of give it a try and see if you like it. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. You know, that's okay. But if you do like it, you know, that would be great. You know, that would that'd make me happy. Um, but here's one thing I will say. I need to look at Steam's refund policy. So if you're gonna buy the game, there's gonna be a couple ways you can buy it. You can buy it via Steam, or you can buy it via my website. Now, if you buy it via my website, which I haven't created my website yet, but if you buy it via my website, I will refund you the full dollar amount with no time limit or anything like that. I gotta look at the laws regarding refunds, but I will refund you 100%. If you don't like the game, if you feel like the game is just not worth it, I will absolutely refund you. Now Steam's refund policy, I don't know if they will let. I think it's like you can only refund it if you played it less than 2 hours or something like that, and within like a 14-day period. No, I don't want to do that to you guys. I'll make sure that you're able to refund, and I'll try to refund you the money back as best as I can. But if you're skeptical about it, please don't use Steam. If you're skeptical, use my website. That's what I'll say, because that's how you'll know you'll get a full refund, and I can contact Steam to make sure they can give you the refund. But I don't want anybody to feel like they're uncomfortable, or, you know, forced to like it. I'm not forcing anybody to like it. I just would like people to, you know, sit back and relax and listen, you know, and enjoy the game for what it is. And, um, you know, of course, form their opinions, obviously. And I'm not expecting everybody's going to like it. But I hope that it kind of opens up like a conversation. That's what I really want. I want it to open up a conversation so we can start talking about things like this and why we're so scared to, you know, talk about certain things. I feel like we should be able to talk about those things and not be worried about what people are going to say. You know, these are logical things that people need to be able to talk about. And I protect, you know, I honestly love freedom of speech, and I believe everybody should have it. So yeah, it is a personal story, but it's not as personal as the main story that I was going to tell. But there will be some Easter eggs about that, and hopefully, if you know me long enough, if you know me in person, you'll understand the Easter eggs. And so yeah, that's pretty much it, as far as what I'm working on. Um, but I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. If you did, thank you, and thank you for listening. If you're listening later on in the day, I appreciate it. Um, I'm glad we had this discussion, and I will see you guys in hopefully the next video at some point.